Mr Mayor, I had the great privilege of serving on this council for 4 years, and I did so. I had the pleasure of serving alongside the movers of the motion on item 8, Councillors Phillips and Freeman, who I know to be diligent, thorough and caring in all they do. However, having said that, I also remember with a vivid recollection of the residents' meetings, the emotion around this issue, the horror stories of antisocial behaviour, of dilapidated housing. I remember it all too well. I have to say that I cannot support this motion tonight, even though I'm sure it has the most noble of intentions. And I'll explain why. Many people in this borough share tendencies for different reasons. Some are students who really don't have a choice because of cost, and as such they sometimes get exploited either financially or through substandard housing. You do have problems. You have dilapidated housing, you have some issues of antisocial behaviour as well. This is partying late into the night on a Monday night, or indeed leaving rubbish out in the street for it to rot for days. We all recognise that these are very emotive issues. You also have professionals who share. Like myself, for example. I don't party till 3 AM on a Monday night because I've got to be up, like my housemates, at 6 AM on a Tuesday morning to go to work. We are not the problem. As well as the motion being, as I believe it to be wrong, it's just unworkable. How many landlords would go to the planning commission to allow sharers to live in a house when it's costly to them, both in terms of finance and in terms of time? And this works both ways, of course. Sharers won't just be left out in the cold. Think about Guildford Park Avenue, where there's a vast proportion of sharing accommodation. Which of those landlords who will effectively have planning permission, if they currently have students or sharers living in them, will give up that planning permission to allow a family to live there? There are noble intentions, but the motion simply wouldn't work. Mr Mayor, I have to say I was very proud to serve on this council as a member of the Liberal Democrat group, and I was proud for a particular reason. The first is what the questions that they would ask when ideas like this were discussed. Number one, what good would it do to the people of this borough? But number two, and equally as important, what harm might it do to the disadvantaged, the vulnerable and those worse off? And I asked my former colleagues on the Liberal Democrat bench, when they vote tonight, they apply the second question to this motion, because it fails on absolutely every single count.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Right, could I now ask Councillor Sarah Creed to say that?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I find myself in a somewhat unusual position of agreeing with Mr Ward's comments. I don't think it's something that we have on record in our past meetings. However, I am grateful to you for making those comments for reasons that I will give later when I respond to the motion. I do believe the motion is flawed both on planning and on housing grounds, and I will elaborate that when we come to consider the motion in full. But I do underline Mr Ward's comments. What causes me some concern at a human level about this motion is the underlying assumption that HMOs, houses of multi-occupation, always undermine our objective to create or maintain mixed communities. That is not always the case, and I trust that the Council will remember that when we consider this motion in detail later. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Creed. Right, we move on to item 5, questions for councillors. I've received notice of 3 questions for councillors, all of which are set out on the board with effect, together with a written response from the lead councillor to the questions for appointment. In relation to the first question, Councillor James Park, would you like to amplify an intricate aspect of your question?
May I ask a supplementary? Mr Mayor, can I thank Councillor Wicks for her answer, and particularly her promises that there will be a public exhibition and meeting for any proposals, and that the officers will consider any comments from Shalford residents about the technical suitability of the Stonebridge site. Can I also express my gratitude to the leader of the council, Councillor Roof, for agreeing to attend the public meeting on the 19th of January in Shalford Village Hall, where I think residents will very much look forward to the prospect of presenting their concerns face to face with Councillor Roof. However, can I ask Councillor Wicks to clarify light of her answer to my questions and to her previous answer to the question of Mr. Chris Parker. Firstly, what will be the cost of these scoping exercises, since this was not made clear in the original executive report? And secondly, in view of her welcome comment that the council officers will be happy to discuss the contents and findings of the scoping exercises with residents and to receive their comments, can she assure me that those findings will be available for public inspection well ahead of any executive meeting that might consider submitting a planning application? And will she finally accept from me that the big turnout from Shalford residents tonight is an indication of the very deep disquiet and concern about these proposals, and hope she'll take that on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Palmer. Councillor Whitford, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, thank you, Councillor Palmer. And I have no doubt that you have been saying, conveying very sincerely the concerns of Shalford residents, and I do appreciate that. You asked about the cost of the scoping work which has been done. It's not a totally straightforward question to answer. A lot of the work has been done, and is being done internally. The Guildford Borough Council engineers, for example, are looking at drainage, which is a crucially important issue, and I'm sure everybody from Shalford appreciates that. The Guildford Borough Council Arboricultural Advisor is looking at the trees on the site. Surrey County Council are looking at the highway implications of the site. The Guildford Borough Council has appointed a flooding consultant that will cost slightly under £1,000. A contamination consultant is to be appointed but is not yet appointed, and the terms of reference are just being drawn up, so I'm sorry I can't give a figure for that, but it will obviously be available in due course. On the publication of the scoping work, I will look into this. The likelihood is that as soon as the work is complete, it will go to the executive. It will go straight to the next executive. For the very reason that having commissioned the work, we actually want to get on with dealing with the results. If the results are that the site is not suitable, then we will want to get on with working through scoping a further site. If the results are that the site is suitable, then we will be moving towards a planning application. But in either case, there is to be no advantage gained in leaving it around. Nearer the time, which is some months away, I will have a better idea as to whether this is possible. I quite understand that the longer that residents have to examine something which is probably quite technical and detailed, the better they will be able to respond to it. And I do appreciate that. But maybe look at it according to practicalities, certainly in the spring. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Whitford. Are there any other questions or comments from councillors?